This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome back everyone to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm once again Tony Black, your host, and you're listening to our coverage of minute 78 of the X-Files Fight the Future. This minute begins at 1 hour 17 minutes precisely with a black screen, black void, and ends on 1 hour 17 minutes and 59 seconds with Skinner in the middle of talking to Mulder about his predicament. So, back again to discuss this minute. I'm joined by recurring Fight the Future Minute guest and X-Cast patron, Luke Winch.
Hi there, good to be back.
Pleasure to have you back, Luke. Yeah, this is a scene with a bevy of people in it. You know, quite unlike the last scene where it was mainly just a plane with a bit of Scully and a bit of Smoking Man. This is all this is all full of people.
Reunion.
It totally is, yeah. Because obviously we start, as I say, with this black screen, but we come up on, well, it's Mulder's POV, isn't it? Which is really good. So it's like we can hear the Lone Gunmen a little bit, and then as Mulder wakes up, we see them looming over him, Fro Hickey Byers and Langley. And yeah, Lone Gunmen, woohoo!
Yeah, I love this scene a lot. And it's an interesting scene as well, because I know that Spotnitz and Carter wanted to make the film for fans and newcomers, but I really think that this scene works best for the fan. We have that package of history that Mulder's had with the Lone Gunmen, and when Mulder just goes, "Oh God," it just encapsulates the 5 years that he's had with the Lone Gunmen, and you know exactly what he thinks. It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's like, oh, not these guys. Well, he's happy to see them in one sense, but then on the other, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. I've just been shot in the face. This is not what I need. Are you big fans of these guys then? I mean, generally in the series, are you excited when we get a Lone Gunman appearance, or we get them crop up in episodes, or their own episodes? You know?
Yeah, I'm a huge Lone Gunman fan. Always have been. I kind of prefer them earlier seasons when they were in their in their office with their hundreds of locks and were a bit more paranoid and a bit more skitty. But I do like them all throughout, and the standalone episodes I personally really like.
Even Jump the Shark.
I'll put that to one side.
You'll really like the TV show then, their spin-off. Because
yeah, which I've never seen either. So
it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's been a long time since I saw that, and as I think I might have said before on this podcast, we will do those 13 episodes or whatever it is eventually. We will absolutely go through all those, which will be great fun. But it's a different kind of tone really to this, which is important to do, because they always do bring a different tone, don't they? They always bring a bit of, they inject important bit of levity into a lot of what otherwise could be quite dark stuff, don't they? Really?
Yeah, definitely. Much needed in some of the episodes where it's as you say, it gets quite dark and conspiratorial. So they provide exposition as well as making you laugh, which is great.
And that's the thing. Well, this is it. In this, they are that exposition, aren't they? They are there to give crucial, important stuff for Mulder here. They're pointing out a bit about the bee and things that. Well, they've got the bee as well, which is crucial. Although, why didn't the conspiracy get that bee back? Like, of all the things they were doing, they were taking Scully and all this kind of thing. How did they miss? Did they not go and clean up? Did they not go and have a look? And they missed the bee.
That's a really good point. That is a really good point, because you'd think that they'd do a clean up of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it kind of is, really, because by the end, it gives Scully what she needs to reopen the X-Files. So, if they'd have just gone back in and picked that bee up, then the X-Files wouldn't have been back. They would have been closed forever. Chris Carter missed a trick there. If he wanted to end the show here, he could have just not had that bee there. You know, the whole fate of this TV series, Luke, hangs on a bee.
It does.
Just process that for a minute. That's mind blowing.
And once again, it's the inane henchmen that they've hired not doing their job properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's old black-haired man guy.
Yeah.
Things could have been so different. Sorry, I had to get that in. Any excuse for a pun, I will take, definitely.
But yeah, it is a crucial plot point, and the conspiracy, the syndicate didn't pay attention. I kind of think it's it's those little things that should be important, I think, to them if they're an official. I mean, it's. I don't necessarily think this is what they were thinking of, but it kind of underscores the fact that conspiracies in there invariably. I mean, this is why conspiracy theories are so ridiculous, in the sense that to even make a conspiracy happen requires such a level of competence that boggles the mind. Most governments can't even get their normal day-to-day right. You know, how can they possibly cover something up so vast with any level of success? It boggles the mind, doesn't it? Well, it's why I don't. Why, much as I love the X-Files, I don't really believe in most of these conspiracies in real life. For the reason that people are rubbish at what they do, and there's no way they would be able to sustain a conspiracy for that long with that level of success without making massive mistakes. And this is a good example of how they forgot about that bee, and then that's a key piece of evidence. Yeah. It just sums it all up, really. That's why conspiracy theories are ridiculous. It is. Because, think of the logistics. It just wouldn't happen. Fall apart. It's like people who believe that the moon landings were fake. It's like, there was over 5,000 people involved. Are you saying that 5,000 people are going to stay silent? They're all going to stay silent, lie successfully for the rest of their lives, to propagate something that probably would have been harder to do than actually go to the moon. Exactly, yeah. And probably cost more money, actually, as well. Well, yeah, exactly. That's one of the most ludicrous. Although, it's worth it alone for things like these videos where there's these things on YouTube, isn't there? And I think there was a whole film about this, about how Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landings, and it's all there in The Shining. Have you come across this? I haven't, and I don't think I could possibly watch it without hitting the screen or something. It is proof beyond anything else that if you look too hard, I think Mulder says this at one point, doesn't he, in the show? If you look too hard, you can go mad, right? Because you can make anything into a conspiracy if you try hard enough. Because it's really entertaining, right? It's even to the point that they're trying to argue that certain of the shots of the mountains by the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, if you tip them upside down, it makes an inverted symbol which suggests the moon crater or something. It's so mental. And I was thinking, the effort for you to put this together, right? In a way, I admire it because it's so mad that it's entertaining. It's worth it, if anything, for that kind of stuff. It sounds ludicrous. I might have to just watch it and just... It's bonkers. Have a look. Just look it up on YouTube. Just type in Stanley Kubrick moon landings and you'll see some of the crazy stuff. The sort of stuff that even the Lone Gunmen probably would have found mad. But yeah, anyway, I mean, as we see the Lone Gunmen, we get a good pop culture reference, don't we, with Wizard of Oz and... Cowardly Lion, Scarecrow, Toto. And Toto. But who's who? Well, I don't know about, what do you think? I think Byers is the Cowardly Lion. Yeah, works, yeah. I'd say Langley's the Scarecrow. Definitely. I was going to say... Froaky's got to be Toto, hasn't he? He has to be Toto. He was my first choice for Toto. He's got to be. And presumably that makes Scully Dorothy. Yes, it must do. And who's Mulder? Oz. Oz. Of course he is. Oz. Of course he is. Well, no, he must be. He's got to be the Wizard of Oz. But, yeah, anyway. I don't think the Wizard's called Oz, is he? Oz is the place. He's just the Wizard, isn't he? Just the Wizard. Does the Wizard have a name? Does he have a name? I don't think he does. I don't think he does in any of the films. I don't know if in that musical prequel they've done... I can't remember what it's called now.
Oh,
Name
is
escapes
that the one
me.
with James Franco? That awful bloody... It was awful, that was.
No, it's a stage musical.
Wicked.
Wicked, that's the one. I don't know whether that they've named him or not. I don't know. I've never seen it before.
Well, I have, but I can't remember. Oh. I remember the name of there's a witch called Elphida. I know that one, but it was a while ago now. It was. I mean, I took school children, so I was busy making sure they weren't like trying to set fire to things and stuff, you know. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a good reference. It's a fun reference, and adds to the comedy of it all. Speaking of comedy, apparently, according to the producers, David Duchovny was really excited about this scene because he was convinced he'd be able to expose his bum. So when he got up off the the bed, he was saying, "Well, I'll have my gown open, like, you know, and I could just expose my buttocks on film."
Excellent.
which didn't happen in the end. It's a shame.
Yeah, although I think if you look on the gag reel on the Blu-ray, there is a shot of him turning away from buyers, and you can see his buttocks.
There we go. He did it. He got it. He got it then.
Yeah,
he got it on film.
It might only be outtakes, but he got it.
He got it there. And he does do it then for real on film in Evolution.
Nah, that's a film I haven't seen in a very long time. I have seen it, but I've not seen it in years.
Oh, it's not brilliant, really, but he's really funny in it because he just plays a goof. Like, he just plays a complete goofball in that, right? So it's and there is a scene where he just moons someone on the back of a Jeep. He just gets moons them. Very funny. But so there's that. And then Langley does make a good point about how he does explain the bullet just missing, like, his brain, basically. And I think he says, you know, 3 centimetres or millimetres to the left and we'd all be playing harps right now.
That's right,
which is a good line. I think it's important that they explain that as well. You know, I think it's because otherwise it could seem really far fetched. That he got shot in the head and he's okay and he can get up out of bed. Like, I mean, it's stretching credulity as it is, but you know, I think it's good they put that line in there.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose it kind of goes back to the question we asked in the previous episode about whether the black-haired man intentionally shot him or didn't. So it kind of adds to that a little bit as well. Yeah,
it sort of suggests maybe he knew what he was doing there, and he was a competent conspirator. Who knew?
Oh, pay rise for the man.
What the hell's that about? But yeah, anyway, we finished really with Skinner coming in, which is cool. He's been out of the picture for a while now, Skinner, and throughout this film, obviously, he has to play sort of that typical sort of Skinner middleman role, which I know we've talked about before on the podcast, and I dare say we'll talk about again. But here he's much more visibly on Mulder's side, isn't he? He's like, you know, he's making the point, you know, how far will they let you get if you just want to get out of here and go and get back Scully? You know, he's not playing that middle. With these guys in this environment, he can be a bit more of himself, I think.
Yeah, definitely. He's much more Mulder and Scully's side in this film, and I think they've kind of left the ambiguity out of the movie. I don't know, maybe just for plot's sake, you don't want to make him too ambiguous because they need someone in the FBI on their side.
Well, it's funny because we did talk earlier in the Fight the Future minutes about how he does have to be a little bit sort of trying to play both sides in a way. He does have to be a little bit more of the boss at various points with the OPR panel, but here, absolutely, you're absolutely right in that you can let go of that and he can show the audience that he's an ally ultimately, you know, which is good because we don't want Skinner to be going back to like early season 2 Skinner where he's quite brittle. You want Skinner who's been through all this stuff with them, don't you? Really, at this stage. Yeah,
you want a nice, concerned, looking out for Mulder type Skinner, don't you?
And he is, which is good, and that's kind of where it ends because you've got them all planning now Mulder's escape, really, so he can go off and try and find Scully. So we'll continue with this in our next minute. You'll be back as Mulder makes his escape in minute 79, Luke. So it'd be good to talk to you then.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap it up there. And so until our next minute, guys, thanks for listening. And remember, trust no one. Elsewhere on We Made This. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
That you did when you saw yourself do it in the future.
Right, before we talk about this, seeing as we are talking about travelling in time and meeting ourselves, I am, again, I would definitely have sex with myself. Would you? As two heterosexual men,
Would I have sex with Colin?
Would you? Well, would you have sex with yourself?
Free with this month's issue.
But anyway, what are you guys thinking about this one?
I'm thinking, even if you're telling me that you're nodding, you're secretly like throwing those arms around, you know, shuffling your feet by your chairs, having a good old dance along to it. You can't not at all.
No, I was doing, whereas with, rock tracks you might be doing air guitar, I was doing air knob twisting, and that is not what it sounds like.
Maybe we're moving like dolls up and down.
You really should have thought that one through, shouldn't you?
One hand on a headphone.
Anyway, it's great. Orbital are f***ing great, like.
Colin's Freudian slips aside, yes.
The Movie Palace.
Let's talk a bit about the man himself then, Alfred Hitchcock. This is the first Hitchcock film I'm doing on this podcast. I think he's one of those directors that, sooner or later he was going to come up with something like this. What do you think, if you could kind of summarise it, is so great about him?
I think the main reason is he was like the first celebrity director. He was the first director that people knew who he was. They could put a face to the name, and he had this persona.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.